Tomorrow is the 17th day of the month of Tammuz, which is the beginning of the 3 weeks, as we call it, the 3 weeks of mourning the destruction of the first and the second temple. Tomorrow is supposed to be a fast day in Montreal, starting around 3 o'clock in the morning, ending around 9:20. And these 3 weeks culminate with Tisha B'Av, the saddest day of the Jewish calendar, which was the day where the first and the second temple were burned. And this is corresponding this year to the 30th of July. Let me first mention a few of the observances of the 3 weeks. Basically, these are 3 weeks of mourning. We won't do any weddings. Obviously, celebrations which are date-related, such as Brit Milah, Pidyon HaBen, Bar Mitzvah, will be held, but without any music, because we avoid listening to happy music. We don't take haircuts. We won't buy any new clothing. So, in general, these are periods where we emphasize the sadness which has befell upon the Jewish community. Let's go through, first of all, different events which happened on this day. The first one is the breaking of the tablets. When Moshe Rabbeinu came down with the tablets after having received the 10 Commandments on Shavuot, and he saw how the Jews have worshipped the golden calf, he broke the tablets. That was on the 17th day of the month of Tammuz. During the Babylonian siege of Jerusalem, the Jews were forced to stop offering the daily sacrifices because they had no more sheep. Apostomus, who in general is considered a general during the Roman occupation, he actually burned the Holy Torah, the Bible. The same Apostomus, according to some, also placed an idol in the Holy Temple on that very day. During the time of the Romans, the destruction of the Second Temple, the walls of Jerusalem were breached by the Romans. And then after a lengthy siege of 3 weeks, they burned down the temple on Tisha B'Av. The Jerusalemite Talmud maintains that this is also the date when the Babylonians breached the walls of Jerusalem on their way to destroying the first temple again on Tisha B'Av. In later years, there were many other calamities, such as in the year 1391, more than 4,000 Jews were killed in Toledo, Spain. In the year 1559, the Jewish quarter of Prague was burned and looted. In 1944, the Kovna ghetto was liquidated on the day of Shivasa B'Tammuz and sent to the crematorium. Some of us might remember there used to be a country, Libya. So this infamous country of Libya, in 1970, on the day of Shivasa B'Tammuz, confiscated Jewish property. But what we also find interesting, that when the flood of Noah, for a whole year Noah was traveling on his ark, where the world has been destroyed, washed away, the first dove that he sent out to see if the waters have receded was on Shivasa B'Tammuz. In other words, some light to the end of the tunnel. Now, how do we put this into perspective? See, here we find something very interesting. 17 corresponds to the word in Hebrew, toiv, good. Now, what good is in all these events that we just spoke about? So the idea is as follows. In these dates, in these events, there is a hidden good, to something good to come out, something better to come out. In fact, just talking about the first one, the Moshe Rabbeinu broke the first tablets, but we received the second tablet, which was even greater, as it says, than the first tablets. So let us look as to what we need to do to bring in the ultimate good, which is in 17th of Tammuz. So the Talmud tells us the reason for the destruction of the temple, the reason for the breach of Jerusalem was gratuitous hatred. Unfortunately, sinat chinam. So by us strengthening ourselves in Ahavat Israel, love your fellow Jew, acts of goodness and kindness, with no ulterior motive than just doing good, is what's going to remedy the problem, which was the destruction of the first temple. And we will merit the rebuilding of the temple. And how telling, Hashgacha Pratis, that tomorrow is the siyum, the conclusion of Maimonides, of the 39th cycle as we spoke. So first of all, I want to invite you all to participate tonight at a global ceremony of the conclusion, the study of the Talmud. All you need to do is to go into the web on rambamsiyum.com, and you will be able to follow these beautiful event. But more than anything else, the Rambam concludes with the words that in time of Mashiach the world will be filled with knowledge and acceptance of God. So by us strengthening in love your fellow Jew, tomorrow we will not fast, we will feast in the celebration of Mashiach. Amen.